Alright, let's see if I can do this. I thought it could be cool to... Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Turn that off. I thought it could be cool to... Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Damn it, I thought I turned that off. Um, walk through some of the footage from the Kurt Fehrenbach
At
hammer
Bar Run
in.
Forge. Howdy, howdy,
So,
howdy.
hey, hey, Troy or Eli, one of y'all's up late, like me. I'm assuming that's Troy. But yeah, so I'm kind of gonna walk through this while I sit here and have my smoke. I'm gonna finish my smoke and then I'm going to bed. So I'm not doing the whole 5 hours and 45 seconds of this. So a little quick update on this. This started rough. I was originally we were intending to do something else. I'm going to pause this real quick. We were doing it a different way, and that way was not working. I was running into all kinds of technical issues. So I just bypassed all of that and went to what we are going to see here.
At Bar Run Forge. Troy Yet.
Yeah,
Night
Night Owl.
Owl.
I'm with you, bro. Um, so I removed the original equipment from the mix and put in something else. And when I did that, I did not realize the audio was not enabled right out of the gate. It took a few minutes before I figured that out. So let me go ahead and start this up again, and I'll explain what you're seeing now. So first of all, and I think Kevin Hickman is currently driving this piece. I could be wrong. It's either Kevin or it's Paul, but I think in this particular instance it was Kevin. So, or it might be Paul. I don't remember. But if you look at the block on the anvil right now, or on the die, the bottom die, it's got a slight rhombus to it, um, which there I think if I recall, let's watch. As we go through this, yeah, you can really see that rhombus there, right? So you can see me looking at it. I'm not, at this point in time, I'm not participating with any of the actual forging. My original intent was to really do my best to capture the action. And we didn't want to just leave that to some rando that doesn't understand the equipment being used. In fact, that we would rather depend on an idiot that is using the equipment, me, to do this. But anyways, we were doing our best. We really wanted to show what was happening. That looks like Paul driving right now. Um, so Paul is trying to square this piece up because
Stream
it's
Elements. Sharp Bend Forge is now
so
live.
yeah.
Streaming
So
Blacksmith. Running through the Kurt Fehrenbach
the
stream.
the this block of steel is currently out of focus. It's also um, slightly rhombused. So trying to get that back into square mostly. I don't know. Now Kurt took over um, to try to square this up. This is also in what little bit I've not used. I've only used this hammer once, um, and that would be that'd be an overstatement in a big way. I put a piece of steel under it once, um, but what I do know, this is when having a lot of power available to you is um, huge, because you can present this piece to this hammer and it will move things where you want it to move a lot more readily than a much smaller hammer. You could put this block under a smaller hammer, like a 250 for instance. I mean, you're not going to put that block under a tire hammer, um, but you could put that under my 250. But this 600 is going to push things around a lot easier. Um, and then get my big head out of the way and then Kurt's ass out of the way. This is So the guy with the long white beard that just walked by, that's Chris, and he is the one driving the hammer. So in an operation like this, you got to have a person that can to actually to articulate the hammer, and then you would typically have a director or somebody driving the piece, and then often a helper, and then sometimes a spotter to help line things up, things like that. Um, so in this instance, a lot of these guys, Kurt and Paul work together quite a bit. Paul's worked with Kurt probably almost, I would say, maybe not every night, but at least 4 times a week. Paul is over at Kurt's shop helping out. So they've worked together quite a bit. Um, and then Kevin Hickman, he jumps in and helps out quite a bit, and he's helped out a lot more as well. And a lot of us have had turns on this particular hammer to do some stuff, but some of the other guys have had a little bit more time with it than me. So I'm an hour away from Kurt, so I kind of have to pick and choose my battles on when I can go out there. But I try to get out there at least once every couple of weeks.
All right.
So here we go.
First of
Have
all,
audio.
thank you all for coming out. This is the IBA Monthly Hammer In. Kurt was gracious enough to host us for this weekend, so give him an applause.
I don't have a good number on attendance,
Secondly,
but I would say it was
He has graciously also
between
donated
35,
his time
50
to
people,
demo
somewhere in there.
making a swage block,
I don't really have a good number
making
on that.
a
We had a
handle,
really good
as
attendance,
well
good
as
turnout.
we're gonna punch out and make a bushing. So we'll see how far
There's
we
a lot
get
of
with
people
that.
off
But
to the
the
right
primary
side of the
thing,
screen that you can't
handle and
see,
swage block.
and then a bunch of
So,
people behind
we're
the
gonna have
camera that you
Kevin
can't
and
see.
Noah also working
right
on
now.
the swage block. That's their primary task. Our primary task is the anvil. But we'll also have Dan step in. We'll have a few others step in and assist with it. So
this is
Rob
Paul
is
Kennedy.
also back there right now.
Kurt
we're
is on
also
his left.
streaming it right now.
Chris is to his right.
So anybody and everybody that was unable to make it,
Or you're Paul.
we'll be able to
You'd
see
be
it.
on
Plus, we'll
Paul's
have
side.
it recorded, hopefully, and we'll be able to repost it later for anybody and everybody to see. So
So let me go ahead and fast forward a
the
little bit.
sign-in
So at this point, I believe I don't know what it, I forget what he said that this actually was. Maybe like a really big bushing. I don't know. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it. They got a round piece. They round it up, and then they're going to punch this hole. There's some coal dust on there. Helps to keep the punch from sticking. Sometimes you have to keep in mind, if you watch, I'm going to pause this real quick because this is a good example. You see where Kurt flinched there a little bit. Let me bring it back up. I think I can show that again. And I'll show you what's going on. When that coal dust got thrown into that, let me see, right here. You'll see Kurt flinch a bit.
No, it's over there. Never mind.
We might have missed it here. I might have gone too far back. Let me see. But anyways, yeah. So he's gonna drop it down. So they punched a hole. I mean, did I go that far back? I didn't go too far back, did I? We'll go right here. Right here. Let's go here. So,
All right. Gonna get it going.
they're going to get it going. So again, throw the coal dust in there. Um, the coal dust helps to keep the punch from sticking, but it also, with this much heat and that much power coming down on that thing, it's going to throw that stuff everywhere. So you'll see that here. That's why Kurt flinched a bit there. You'll see it. That and the scale. Once that die starts to make contact with the top, here comes the coal dust. See, it's on fire already. Well, watch, here it goes. Boom. As soon as that die makes contact, right there. As soon as that die made contact with the top of that piece, it threw that stuff everywhere. So if you watch industrial forging videos of them doing a similar task on much bigger pieces, oftentimes what you'll see is they're throwing coal dust or even sawdust up there. And there's almost always somebody with a like a, I don't know, a broom or something. It's shielding the director of the piece. I don't know what the, in an industrial forging setting, exactly what this person's um, title would be, where Kurt is currently now. I would call that person the director because they're directing the piece. You got your hammer operator in the back here. You got your essentially your helper here, and oftentimes there will be a spotter around here. In an industrial setting, you'll see a spotter in there, and the reason there's a spotter is they will watch all of this stuff and let the hammer operator know when it's okay to release the hammer and let it do its thing. And it also in industrial settings, and you'll see it here too, it's rare that you put a top tool on that and just full send it. Usually what they'll do is they'll lower that top die, touch off, and then bring the hammer back up. Basically what it's kind of doing is setting the tool, um, and then they'll bring it back up and then bring it down with some force. And the reason they do that is if the person that's holding that tool, if they're not perfectly aligned with the die will align them, and that is not a good thing. On a 600-pound hammer, that can hurt you really bad or even kill you. So let's get back into here and see what we're. So at this point, they're stretching this hole out. They got a specialty die on the hammer right now, and basically it's, I don't know, for a lack of better term, it's got this like a yoke, I guess, and a bar rides in it. And what they'll do is they start forging this. It's stretching it out across that bar, and they'll just keep it turning as they go, and it makes that the hole, it stretches it out, just like you would use a horn to open up a bottle opener, right? You're doing the same thing, just in a much smaller version of it. So if you were making a, I don't know, say a wheel hub or something, right? You know, oftentimes in industrial settings, you'll see them doing like train wheels in a very similar manner. There's some other tools that I see that get used. I think it depends on the shop. They got some, these hydraulic things with 3 fingers in it, and those will open up and stretch it out that way too. It's pretty cool. My guess is that machine is probably pretty pricey. This is kind of the quote-unquote old way of doing it. It's just as effective. But once you can get these things really close to the final dimension, and then what they'll do is typically forge it out like this, and then you get machined from there and trued up. It's pretty cool. And you know, a lot of guys don't think that, you know, modern still has a grain structure, but it totally does. You can see it under a microscope. So by forging it this way, it increases the strength of the steel that's being used, because that grain is going to follow that versus if it was just one piece, grain going through it, you just run a hole through it. That grain doesn't really follow the radius much. Or in this way, what? You can see that. In fact, there are I was just watching an old video from the 60s showing it. So again, now they're coming back to the big block. I think they're squaring it up in this particular thing here. Oh, I can hold the. Forgot I can do this. Speed it up a little bit. Chris is bringing the die up, prepping to start work. Here they come. Here comes Paul with that block. And again, to the left over here is Kevin Hickman. He does some work on this too. I forget what this block of steel weighs, but I'm going to guess it's around 55 pounds, if not 50. And it's a big old block of 4140 if I recall. And another thing to think about is, while all these tongs are working for what they needed to do, these are not like, if this was a production run like they were doing, these are not the tongs they would be using. They would have purpose-fit tongs for them, probably in different stages, to do what they want to do, to more securely hold it, and make it easier to manipulate the material as well. But yeah, they're not doing a bad job for what they do, for what they are working with. But I mean, every hit, look at it. I mean, it's just, I love that kind of stuff, watching that material move like that. Every hit, man, it's just boom. And you can feel this hammer out in the driveway every time it hits. The foundation of this hammer is as tall as the hammer is, which I think is right at 12 feet tall. It's not technically a steam hammer anymore. It's been converted to air. And then outside there is a big air compressor, diesel-powered air compressor that he runs this off of. Unfortunately, Kurt can't get three-phase power in his shop, and I've had multiple opportunities that we could have gotten, anywhere from a 30 to 50 horsepower rotary screw compressor that would easily keep up with the hammer, and allow us to really push some air into this bad boy, but it does fine. But yeah, look, I mean, this thing is a beast. Watching it every hit, I mean, you gotta remember that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-inch square block or cube. I think might be bigger than that. I don't remember. It's a big block of material, let me tell you. And you'll also notice one of the things that they're really good about doing for this is getting it back into the heat. Like right now, the camera is not doing a great job of showing temperature. It's a lot colder than it looks right now at this point. But it's still moving, and it was still plenty hot. But there will come a point where they're like, hey, at this point, we get it back in the fire. And Kurt's got a huge, big gas forge in the background there. Fred Oden in his hat there. It was good to see Fred. He was in bad shape in June. We were worried we might lose him, but we did not. Thankfully, he looked good. It was good to see him. Now, I believe this is the block we're using for the suede block. Yeah. I think Kevin, so this is Paul. Kevin Hickman, I think, is driving now. Almost looks like Dan and I. That's Dan Browski in the background, and that's me right behind Kevin here. This looks like we're wearing the same uniform. We were not coordinated on purpose. It just works out that way sometimes, I guess. Funny though, looking at this, I didn't realize that we were basically dressed the same. But my boots look cooler looking than his. I just want to put that in there. My boots are cooler. That matters. But anyways, so yeah, they're working on the swage block at this point, and I think at some point here we go, in a different angle. So you can see they've got the round swage in there already. It just kind of starts with they got a big ball puller essentially to do that with. You generally can locate that with a smaller one, lighter hits, put it where you want it. It's like any other type of forging, guys. When you're using a hammer, even when you're using a hammer this big, reducing your surface area of contact is always going to move more material. Always. It will always move more material. So you'll see that here in this video. I need to bounce it back around on the chat and make sure I'm not missing anything. I doubt anybody's still watching, but that's okay. Yeah, I don't show anybody on Facebook. Nobody's on Facebook. One person on Twitch, which is probably a bot. So, which is fine. I'm just keeping myself occupied while I smoke the smoke, right? Not sure what's happening right now. Paul is checking on something. So, bump up a little bit. So this is okay. Let me back this up a hair. See if we can catch what's going on here. This looks like the start of the anvil. Yeah, there's a lot of guys in the way. It gets to a certain point where we just couldn't really help that. So they're using this, I don't know, I think Kurt called this a bop tool. Essentially it's a ball puller. So what he's doing is he's pushing that down in the center of the block, and that's going to move the material out, right? And then once they get that done, they're going to go to a bigger ball puller. And that's really going to move it out. Because they've reduced the surface area of contact around the radius of the ball. It allows it to really get down in there. You can see there? Kinda. It's really blown out. But now, he's going to use essentially a fuller. Mark out what will become the base of the anvil. And you can see they didn't get it quite squared up. It's fine. You can work that as you go. It's one of the joys of a demo, right? You always got to balance, the time that you're working with versus what you want to do versus what you're going to do. So what they're really doing is they're isolating the material that will become, I want to say the base, the foot of the anvil right now. So they're isolating that material off of the main block. And they will do the same thing with bigger pullers later to isolate the material for the body and the horn and well, the face of the anvil. You see they went around it. We're going to go a little further. So in this particular instance, I would have to ask Kurt his thoughts on this, but I'm wondering. For one, I mean, I saw the final result. Um, it came out great, but I'm wondering if starting with a truly square piece versus trying to square it up would have been more advantageous. But I don't know. I can't speak to that. I don't have any experience with that. But I understand what's happening. I've been around enough at Kurt's shop, and some of these things I've seen before. But one of the things I'd realized was during the demo, nobody was really speaking to what we were doing or why we were doing it. So I'm going to hit the fast forward button here. And here we go with that big, so this is the swage block. I'm going to kind of skip through the swage block a bit. Now there you can see let me come over here. So they're putting different swedges, I guess, or depressions in the piece. I don't know what's happening right now. I think this footage, there's so much here that YouTube freaks out a bit. Anytime I try to forward it. That's the other thing. I've downloaded all of this footage. I'm going to edit it and condense it quite a bit. Fred. I think he stands there for quite a bit. And I realize it's like moved. So, yeah, that has been a nailed hammer. Yeah, no. Sometimes you use what you got. You get what you need. The hammer's not going to blow up. Well, that fiberglass handle might. The hammer itself. As you can see, they're putting different round depressions in the block. Skip forward a bit. So this is where they're going to start isolating material for the face of the hand. This is, I think, very interesting to watch because you'll see, like the guy, the tool operator, that person will often take a beating during this process. It didn't look like much at the time, Paul was saying, his arms felt like noodles at the end of the night, and then when he saw some of the footage back, he realized why. Sometimes you don't really notice it when you're doing that, sometimes you definitely notice it. So we're going to 2 times it. I don't know if I can change the forward speed. Never been to a hammer-in, or at least an IBA hammer-in. Most almost always have what they call iron in the hat. You buy tickets, and then as they call your ticket, when they do the drawing, there's usually a table full of tools and steel and stuff. If they call your ticket, you can run up to the table and pick something. and tickets are usually like $1 a piece or something like that. And the idea is that money either goes back to the IBA or to the person that's running the demo to help them offset costs for food and things like that. Um, so it's anytime there's an iron in the hat, hey, throw in $5, man. Help these guys out, especially if it's my hammer. Help me out. Walk up looking like a cow and show us good. So let's I'm not sure what's more tickets being purchased. So there's some of the crowd. See, there's quite a few people back. In fact, I think I see Rick Counts back there, Zach Rapatoni back there, Dan Borowski over here. I mean, I know most of these people in some way, shape, or form. This is Hayden, and this is Hayden's girlfriend, I think, who just had a birthday recently. Bill Corey is back here. I'm not going to name all these people, but there was a good turnout. And this isn't everybody. Like I said, there's a lot of people that were outside hanging out. It was a beautiful day. It was a little windy, but it was a great day. There's Francis Stroll from Coal Iron Works. Greg Counts is from Coal Iron Works as well. Actually, I think Hayden works at Coal or their parent company, Mofab. I forget which one. And Corbin didn't show up. I don't know if he had a school function to deal with, or he was just being a slacker, or what. Probably just being a slacker. Corbin works at Coal too. Yeah, all kinds of IBA folks here. It was an IBA hammer-in after all, so I'm going to skip through this as much as possible because this went on for about an hour. Nothing really happened for about an hour. Yep. Glamour shots of Paul's butt. We don't need any of that. So this was the coolest thing, and I had not seen this before. I'm sure he's done it, but I just didn't notice what was going on. So this is like essentially like a V block. All right. Wonderful shot of Dan's ass. I think that's me walking over there telling him to get his ass out of the frame. Huh. But so what's really cool about this is when I first saw what they were doing, I was like, whoa, what the hell? That looks sketchy as hell. But then once I saw what was happening, I was like, oh, wait a minute. That's pretty damn cool. That's genius. I don't know if that's a Cliff and Ralph thing or what, but just an industrial thing in general. We're gonna, come on, where we at? Where are we at? Oh, here we go. Alright, so now we're getting ready. So this is the part that I think is, when I first saw it, I was like, whoa, what? So they're putting this spring puller in there, and now they're going to take this block, and they're going to put it in there. And originally, I thought, man, that looks sketchy as hell. But if you look at the way this works, is the hammer comes down, it's going to pinch the spring pullers together as it's driven into the block, or the V's. So the spring puller's essentially captured in the V's, and every time the block is hit, it's pushing it down in, and then the spring die is squeezing it. And it's a really cool shot. You can see how it's jolting. This is where Paul's, I think, taking a beating. In fact, it looks like you got two guys helping to hold that thing in place. Brian, who became our unofficial cameraman. Still photos, still photos, not steal. Still photos. Oh, Texans coming out a little bit there. Um, but Brian took 500 something pictures that day. Super cool of him to do that. So I'm gonna just jump forward because it's a lot of back and forth. Oh, now we're doing iron in the hat drawing. Looks like. Yeah, really cool, I think. Go forward some more. And I'm jumping through a lot. Dan is straightening the horn here. And then I think he helps punch the hole. Or already punched the hole. I don't know. Wait a minute. Oh, that looked like me. Oh, that's right. Dan tagged out. So I jumped in to help. So this is the most I did in terms of forging on this project. Blah, blah, blah. We're talking and talking and talking. I will say striking on this was weird. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Weird because I hit the anvil a couple of times. Not this anvil, the anvil we were working on. Because the angle was really odd and tight. Forwarding and going and forwarding and going. We had a camera back here, but that's Steve Parker, by the way. We had a camera back there, but the problem was that the sun was coming into that door and it was just blowing out the image, so it wasn't very good to look at. So in this particular case, we are drifting the hole, and it was also at a weird angle. I don't think I missed it all here. I think it's when we go through the other side, or went through the other side when I hit it. Yeah, and then that was, so there was a little boo-boo there, I think. And he said hit it light right as I was coming down, and I was like, oh, well, so we stuck that punch and had to get it back out. There we go. And then this thing, I had to find something a little smaller to knock that out with. And I think this is where the boo-boo happens. I don't remember. No, it was with the bigger one. It clipped the edge a little bit. Not a big deal, but where it was at, that's going to get chamfered anyways. Yeah, I helped drift it for the bottom side first, I think. And then we went to the top. Yeah, going to the bottom was really awkward because I had this body was in the way. There was no, it was not a really, it wasn't an ideal way of doing that. I mean, we were able to do it, obviously, but I hit the piece twice, I think. But thankfully, it was on the backside, so you won't see it. But I still hit it. So, anyways, that's most of it. Like I said, I'm going to. Um, my goal is to edit this down into a condensed version and upload that. I might try to get to that this weekend and upload a much more condensed version, cut out a bunch of the stuff that's not going, like the stuff in between heats and things like that. But we'll see how that comes out. It's going to take a lot more editing than I've ever done. So, anyways, I'm going to put an end to this, and I will check all y'all later because all none